Lake Forest podcast is supported by viewers, listeners, and businesses just like you. Looking for the best pool supplies? Look no further than Dohany's Pool Supplies. With a history dating back to 1967, this family-owned business offers everything families need to keep their pools clean and sparkling, from chemicals to equipment. Plus, customers enjoy free shipping on all orders. Visit Dohany's Pool Supplies today at doheny.com, DOHENY.com, to learn more. Forest Bluff Real Estate Team serves Illinois, Wisconsin, Lake Forest, and Lake Bluff. John Josephitis, Laura Lee Van Fleet, and of course Michelle Parnell. Get a free market analysis now at forestbluffrealestate.com. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Havy Communications has been helping first responders arrive safely since 1983. It's owned by Lake Forest's own Mike Havy. Check them out at havycommunications.com. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters: Matt A., Elizabeth C., Costa, Lance, Otto, RDM, John C., and Helen. Shout out to the Lake Forest Breakfast Group, Broad Stop and Captain Mike's in Kenosha, the Greentown Tavern, and the Frolic Lounge in Waukegan.
So you got a lot of feedback from last week's show, I hear.
Yeah, I think we'll get, I think we moved the log jam along. Some people like the cartoon that we put up, which is right here.
Hi there, I'm one of the city workers in Lake Forest, and I love Pete, Joe, and Rick. I'd love to come on the show, but I can't because Jason Weiss says I can't come on the show. Wah!
Very creative.
It's creative. I didn't say it was good.
The only thing is the guy in the cartoon who's supposed to be the city worker looks like Jason.
It's supposed to be me.
That ain't you. You don't look like that. I don't mean to ditch you, man, but you don't look like that. And you haven't in
That
years.
Was the biggest guy I could find.
But the glasses and the hair looks kind of like Jason's glasses and hair. I don't know.
Oh, it was unintentional.
Man, I love the wah at the end. That was quite.
Yeah, I don't know. Some people might say I'm saying the city workers are crying, but that's the last thing that.
No. Look, I like we've talked about this before on this show. Is I get both sides of this. I get the government employees having to follow specific communication policies regarding what they can and can't say. Because the last thing you want is an employee coming on and giving wrong information.
Yeah.
But, I don't think people should be punished for speaking their opinion. I think that whole show we did last week about cancel culture, and I do want to correct something I said last week. Just like you.
Hey, Jeff, Philippe, you listening?
Philippe, look, Philippe and I go way back. He used to work for Congressman Bob Dole, who's one of my favorites. He's a good, solid, moderate Republican. That's the kind of Republicans that can win on the North Shore, and we should nominate more guys like Bob Dole. But back to what I said last week, I made a comment about Parents Care, and I said Parents Care had taken on social issues. That is not correct. Parents Care does not deal with social issues. Their mission, and let me find the exact words of Philippe here to me, just so I make sure I get it correct. They don't talk about social issues. They talk about fiscal, academic performance, and transparency. So, and those are all things that I think we all can embrace. That said, the reason they have been rightly or wrongly linked to social issues is because one of the people heavily visible with Parents Care, Frank, who's a good guy. I don't have anything against Frank personally, but Frank says some things about social issues that are not what I think are in the mainstream of the Lake Forest community. That's not to say he's right or wrong, but that's, I think social issues don't play well on the North Shore. And that's my message to a lot of my fellow Republicans and conservatives and stuff is we win on fiscal issues, we lose on social issues. So I've always focused
outlier
on fiscal issues because everybody's got to pay taxes. So we all are concerned about taxes. So that said, I apologize to Parents Care. I did not mean to misstate their mission. And the bigger point here is, though, what we were talking about last week, cancel culture. You shouldn't cancel a group like Parents Care or a podcast like this because they have a guest or are associated with someone with views that you don't necessarily agree with. I think that's the bigger problem here is our society, whether it's like our little city of Lake Forest or the world we live in, we're getting too caught up in, oh my gosh, he said something or she said something that I don't agree with, so I want nothing to do with them. And that's absolutely the wrong way to do that. I have no problem having people on this podcast that I completely disagree with or disagree with on some things and agree with them on others, and let's just talk it out. I think, that's where people shouldn't be afraid to lose their jobs because of they're speaking their opinion. We've seen horrible things happen with, the last couple of election cycles and people blocking their own family members because they're voting for a different candidate than they are. And that's just wrong. And I just think, and both sides are, if you think your side's better than the other, you're wrong. Both sides have.
What about libertarian?
Well,
what the hell is a libertarian anyways?
You'd have to have
cowards
from the libertarian. I think my views tend to be libertarian, but I also view the Libertarian Party as a party that takes votes away from the Republican Party, thereby electing the Democratic Party, which is not a good thing and probably contradicts more libertarian views than electing Republicans.
Yeah,
I think banning things has never worked out for the government. If you look at the history of government banning things, it usually hasn't worked out very well.
For instance,
prohibition was a disaster. The war on drugs has been a disaster. Ban it, whether it's abortion or guns. I don't know if banning them will have the intended consequences that people who want to do that will happen. I mean, banning liquor didn't work out very well for this country. So, and I think the people that thought they were going to get people to drink less didn't accomplish that. So, but same thing with gambling. I mean, it's better to have it out in the open and regulated and taxed. At least you get that revenue there as opposed to going to the mob. I just think government has a bad track record of banning things. That's the same thing with gas-powered leaf blowers. I mean, take it to a city issue. I just, let the market work itself out on that. Why ban them? But again, my apologies to Parents Care for misstating their mission. And again, people shouldn't be canceled because of their views.
Well, there are schools partners. There are experts that come on to talk about what's going on in the schools.
And the school district needs, if the school district or people associated with the school district are uncomfortable with the things that Parents Care says, or people from Parents Care say, they should come on the podcast and give their side to it. Don't just say, oh, your podcast is horrible. You're having these horrible people on and they're so wrong. Come on and say your side to it. We're going to talk about the issue one way or the other. So I think it's better that you address it, come forward and give your side to it. That's
sounds like another cartoon to be created.
I never knew you were this good at creating cartoons, man.
I'm really not.
I wonder how many computers at the Lake Forest City building are playing that cartoon.
If you can't laugh, then what's the point?
Maybe he wants to come on the podcast, but he won't let himself come on. It's like he's like fighting it's an internal fight inside of him. Like he wants to come on, but he can't.
I don't know. Well, there is a city communications manager who's, I
She's a
think,
very nice person. I met her a couple times, and maybe she's the person that should come on and talk about this. And like we've always said, when you come on this show, we're very nice to you. We'll let you give your side of it. I mean, that's the whole. Like I just said, we're going to talk about it one way or the other. So come on and give your side to this.
again. So the city council meeting this week. Rob Carmichael, that's kind of an interesting thing that they did. He was in charge of the wildlife center, and I never went there. I just heard about it from longtime locals. Kids would go out there and, you know, see animals, and it was shut down abruptly, like really fast, sort of like Bed Bath and Beyond. And then so whenever they didn't tell anybody, still didn't get to the bottom of
The
that.
sign is still on Middle Fork Drive, though. The little brown sign that points says Wildlife Discovery Center. At least when I saw it I happened to go by there quite a bit, and I saw it there the other day. So maybe the public works guys who are watching this show but can't come on will come and
those are the guys I want. I want the sanitation guys. I want the blue collar guys.
Yeah.
I want to hear the stories of
maybe you get them on like in silhouette, like Dateline and what's that show, Dateline NBC, where they interview people and they're in silhouette and their voices disguised.
Or when they pull up in their little golf carts, you know, like, hey man, you got a couple minutes? That's all I want.
Those carts are like legendary around town. I was at Jewel once, and one of them pulled over to, you know, lunch break, and this little kid is with his mom, and like, there's the garbage cart. Those things.
I wonder when that started, because that's so genius. I mean, they zip around.
Yeah,
you know, central place to put the.
I moved here. When I moved here, I came from Glenview, which outsourced their garbage collection to Root. And you had once a week pickup, and you had to put all the stuff in the alley once a week. You had one container for your garbage and one container for your recycling, and that was it. And I get here, and like they're telling me, oh no, there's twice a week garbage pickup, and the garbage pickup, you don't even have to put it out on the street. You can just leave it off to the side of your house. I'm like, really? And then I'm like, how do they get the truck up the driveway? And I'm like, it's not a truck, it's a little cart. And I saw it. And it's a cool system. Like the truck drives with the cart attached, and then they park it in the neighborhood, and then run around and do a great job. And it's a great service. I'm glad we have twice a week garbage pickup. I think it's a great thing. I hope we never get rid of it. It's one of the things. But that, you know, I don't know if you want to go back to the Rob thing or talk more about
I want to finish the Rob thing, because
let's talk about Rob. I'm sorry.
Solid dude, 25 years, and I don't know, it was maybe a 10-minute presentation they did. They, you know, put a video together, and I don't know, it seemed you got to do something for the guy, but the way that whole thing went down, they could at least given him that sign that you see out there.
Maybe they will, now that I brought it up.
But he's like, you know, he went up there, said thanks to everybody, and like he wanted out. So I don't know. He's retiring. There's nobody else to do it. They wouldn't fund it. And,
well, my understanding, I talked to a couple people about it, and you guys, you know, talked about it when it went down on the show. You know, Rob had, I guess, grown up taking care of animals, and this was like his calling, and they put him in this position, and he did a great job for many years. But now that he's retired, to do it according to the standards that you need to actually do this by, you would need like, I think 3 or 4 people to replace Rob. Rob did the work of 4 people. But, you know, I mean, you get into standards now, and the way we do things today is probably different than the way they did things back then. And so they just made a decision to not continue the program, and that's it. I mean, like I said, I just got here. My kids are teenagers. I think they would have loved going to that when they were little, and we did walk through it last year when we first moved in. It was a great thing, and you could see the excitement on kids' faces seeing that. But that said, is it really a good expense to continue that if you have to hire all these extra staff and do things that maybe you weren't doing before? And I don't know the answer to that. If that is it worth it or not in the budget and the mission of the city? But they made a decision that it wasn't.
From what I heard, that's all I got is what I heard. I mean, it was a pretty decent thing. I don't know if they charged a cover, but you could have charged, a couple bucks to support the thing. And but they didn't.
It was like having Brookfield Zoo in Lake Forest, kind of a little mini Brookfield Zoo.
Yeah, I mean, it was. But it was also like a marketing piece because WGN, they would do their little short clips on it. It was pretty well known, and just the way they let it down. Fine, you're not making any money, but you have all these other special meetings that you have to do for these other things that we cut funding on, or we give funding to, and nobody talked about how we could save this thing. It was just done abruptly. So that was the problem with that, and it was kind of a weird. Put a video together. Hey, Rob, see you later. And then, boom out.
Maybe we should get Rob on the podcast.
I'm going to try again. If I'd be pissed if I was him.
Well, he's no longer a city employee, so he's free to come on, right?
Yeah. Was that a city employee type thing?
I don't know. There was a city car parked out there all the time. And it's not there anymore. So I'm
all right.
guessing it was. I don't know the whole. There's the city, there's the Eloa Foundation, there's the open lands, there's the county.
You brought up open lands.
Stuff comes on there together.
You brought up open lands. Did you see that they're donating 70 acres or something to Lake County?
Yeah, I saw that this morning. I didn't see where it was though. I didn't catch it. I saw the headline, but I didn't read the story yet. So.
I'm sure it was our boy Jonah. Following the police scanners.
Well, these poor. In fairness to Jonah and to
Dorfman,
Dan Dorfman, these guys are like the last ones of all the local reporters. And they've been given this horrible task of doing the work of what 10 or 15 local reporters used to do. So they're I'd give those guys a little slack in that it's more the industry has changed. I mean, look, the Chicago Tribune doesn't have enough reporters to cover local Chicago news. Mike Flannery is retiring at the end of the month as the political guy on.
Oh yeah.
32. Do you think he's going to be replaced by someone that has that kind of knowledge of Chicago politics? Probably not. The news media has changed, and we've talked about this on a lot of previous shows. Everyone now is more focused on national stuff because that's what they see on cable or on their social media feed. If you post something about Donald Trump, either pro or anti, it gets a gazillion likes. But if you post something about a local bond referendum or something that probably has more effect on your life than Donald Trump, you're going to get maybe 1 or 2 likes. So, it's the nature of who we've become where, more people, we get it wrong. The turnout is highest in the presidential election and it's lowest in the local election. Now, we should vote in every election, and I voted in every election since I turned 18. But if you're gonna pick and choose which elections to vote in, the turnout should be the highest in the local elections, because that has way more effect on your life than on what happens in Washington, D.C. So that's my 2 cents. And we're gonna have a guest on next week who once ran in a local election and lost by 5 votes. So
5 votes.
local elections matter.
That's a couple TikToks.
I don't know if TikTok was around back then, but yeah. So more to come on that one. But we lose sight of that. But yeah, back to open lands. Open lands is an interesting thing. I come here from Cook County, moved here to Lake County and Lake Forest last year, so this is a whole new idea to me. I think the people that live in the properties near open lands pay for some of that, and some of the assessment fees. I know there's some special assessment fees for Middle Fork neighborhoods, so that helps support it. But when I did the bus tour, Lake Forest 101 bus tour a couple of weeks back with
Kathy Z.
With the Kathy Zerniak, there's quite a few stuff that goes on with open lands here in the community, and some nice developments that I think they.
Well, here I'll read it.
Got a way to have open lands and development coexist, and I think that's a great thing.
Open lands to gift Lakeshore Preserve to Lake County Forest Preserves. The nonprofit will also establish a $1.29 million endowment for the continued conservation and restoration efforts of the 77-acre site. So, located in unincorporated Moraine Township on part of the former Fort Sheridan Army Base, the Open Lands Lakeshore Preserve has been closed to the public for more than 2 years following discovery of unexploded ordnance. Bang!
I love those former military sites and the things Glenview Naval Air Station was the same way. They found all sorts of crazy stuff in the ground when they built that into the Glen. They had to remove and stuff, but yeah.
Open Lands did an excellent job creating accessible trails throughout the sensitive ravine, bluff top habitats, installing bridges and staircases, exceptional restoration work. Site is home to at least 6 threatened and endangered plant species. Weed.
You want to open a dispensary there? Is that what you're saying? You get your buddy Rick, is it Rick or Rich?
Rich Ruzich.
I never knew what the word gangier meant till I heard it on your podcast for the first time. The gangier. I had to go look that up.
Rich is one of our supporters. Thank you, Rich.
Ran for county board, didn't he?
Did he?
I think he did.
Did not know that. I think maybe we have Rich on the show.
Why not?
Be one of those like Elon Musk, Joe Rogan podcasts.
Is he really? I don't know.
Hey, dude.
I think I saw his name though running for. I believe it was for Lake County Board.
Like, who's bringing the Doritos?
So he would represent the libertarian wing of the Republican Party.
Right.
Well, cannabis has been. But back to the open lands thing. This sounds like a good idea. I don't know. Again, we just heard about it. I think open lands is a great idea for our area. You see what's happened to areas that didn't save open lands and develop them, and it's just all concrete. So the area that Middle Fork by that savanna that's out there was preserved pretty well. That's a great thing. I didn't know there's a trail. I learned this on the bus tour. There's a trail that goes from Elloa all the way out to like the tollway, like by the Lake Forest City Building, by Hallis Hall, all that stuff. You can take a trail out there, and that the Open Lands office or headquarters, whatever you call it, off of Waukegan Road, used to be the entrance to the Armour estate that's now on Lake Forest Academy, again, before the tollway was built. So there's a lot of cool history there, and I think the Open Lands is a great idea.
Well, Iliad Grow, Rich Ruzich, thank you for supporting us. Love you, babe. It's getting nicer out. Bicyclists, man, they wear those sausage casing suits, and they don't obey the traffic situations.
No,
we're going to see 2 or 3 of these guys laid out in the street, unfortunately. The city has done a better job of putting those little tiny stop signs, and then they put a really tall, big stop sign. So you know which one's like for the car traffic and one is for the bike traffic. So at least it's, they can't say, well, there's no stop sign. Oh, there is one there. But if you're going into traffic, it's like a bicyclist going a I-94. Just that's not stopping. It's
yeah, I mean, I've been to Europe and where everything is bicycling and less cars, but this ain't Europe.
well,
we're a car-oriented society, and that's not going to change. So I always told my kids, try to, if you're biking around, just remember that you got to compete with the cars and follow the traffic rules and everything, and try to
but they don't even look. They like zoom.
And yeah, I mean that's what bike trails are for. Get to a bike trail and ride on a bike trail or a place where there's no vehicular traffic, because it really sucks if you're like driving on the street and there's a cyclist and he's pedaling as fast as he can, which is only like half of what your car can go.
Yeah.
Down the road, and like, I gotta wait for this guy. I'm a jerk if I try to pass him, and he's gonna think I'm trying to hurt him, and it's like, but I'm going like 10 or 15 under the speed limit at that point. And it's like there's got to be I don't know. This is not a Lake Forest specific problem.
It is on McKinley and Western.
I've seen it. No, I was saying it happens in a lot of places. Though I've seen it in Chicago. I saw it in Glenview, Morton Grove. I mean, it's just try to use the bike only places for your bicycling, and that would, we'll keep the cars where they're supposed to be and the bikes where they're supposed to be, and understand that, hey, cars are not evil. There's nothing wrong with driving a car. It's not
but
they
have to cross the street. I get it, but stop, because when I'm making a right-hand turn or a left-hand turn on McKinley and they're flying by and I wipe them out, I'm not going to feel 1 ounce of badness or sympathy. And you will be paying for the dent in my car.
Your estate will be paying for the dent in your car.
That's right. I'll have the first suit in there.
I can laugh. I mean, look, this is some horrible things that happened that shouldn't have happened to bicyclists. But just some common sense. I mean, the cars aren't going away. There isn't a war between cars and bicycles, and make it into everything. It's just like everything else. Everything becomes like this huge social statement about stuff. It's like, it doesn't have to be that way.
We need more important things to be worried about. Like yesterday, you know what? Let's see. We recorded this on Wednesday, June 7th. Yesterday was June 6th. DDay, and when you're doing your little trek around the bluffs, whether it's Lake Bluff or Lake Forest, take a little peer down the bluff and imagine you got a gazillion machine guns and artillery pointing down, and somebody's trying to climb up that thing. The good guys are trying to climb up, the bad guys are shooting down, and they took that thing over at Pointe de Hawk. And on D-Day,
amazing what those were kids. Think about that. Those guys were 18, 19, 20 years old. And there's that famous picture of them as the boat is approaching the shore and they're looking out. Most of the guys in that picture didn't make it.
Yeah.
In the day. I mean, it just is amazing to look back at that. And, I grew up with World War II veterans all around me. The VFW and the American Legion would always put on these carnivals around town and stuff. And, they had those hats and that they all wore and stuff. And those guys most of them are gone now. I mean, there's very few World War II vets left. I was very honored to serve with one who was the mayor of Morton Grove back when I was a trustee, Dan Scanlon. A true hero, that guy, and all those guys. I mean, D-Day was just an amazing thing. It's nice that we're getting there's a veterans monument at, what is it, Deer Path in Green Bay.
Yep.
So that's cool.
$300,000. I think they figured it out.
You know what? I'm happy to pay for a veterans monument. I think those guys deserve it.
So now next step is getting ready for 4th of July. We're going to see how that turf comes into play. That's oh, don't get your high heels caught in the turf.
But is turf going to be ready for 4th of July? I don't think it is.
Just a
I
bunch.
think they're holding it at a different.
They do it at the golf course. I thought they should.
Well, didn't we just had as
Rick
a guest?
Amos.
Yeah, so I thought he explained it all. But and this when we did the bus tour, we went around back behind there and looked at the stuff. And somebody asked, "Are they moving it?" I think they said they're moving it to where they used to do it years ago. And again, I'm new. You're kind of new.
Yeah.
But I'm sure a good time will be happy. But I don't think the turf's going to be ready for 4th of July, Pete. If you're
yeah, it'd be kind of fast.
to do cart stands on the 4th of July on the turf, you're gonna have to wait till next year, buddy.
And then we had graduations. We had a nice get together at the Weiss residence. Congratulations. I believe you had a child graduate. Is that true?
Yeah. So my son graduated because we moved last August and he was going into his senior year. The folks at Glenbrook South High School, where we used to live, allowed him to complete his senior year there in accordance with state law. And trust me, I paid lots of taxes over the years to the Glenbrook School District to justify that. But yeah, so he graduated on Sunday. I know Lake Forest High School graduated on Saturday. But we held a little party at our house, and we were happy you came over and helped celebrate. It was kind of a mini open house for since we moved here to, first time we had a lot of friends over to the new digs. And
good people.
Yeah, I think you got about five podcast guests out of that show, out of that party.
We'll see.
So yeah, good time was had by all.
A lot of things are said towards the tail end of a party, so we'll see.
But I'm very, very proud of my son. He graduated off to college in August. Gonna miss him around the house.
Can we say his name on the show? Because he got a shout out.
Drew Weiss. He's a good guy.
All right, just making sure, Dad. Drew, this is your shout out, my friend.
Shout out to Drew. Drew is the man. We're all going to be working for Drew one day. He is going to be a business major and do great things. So,
awesome. America.
Yeah. You got a letter or an email.
Yeah.
Someone asking me or saying, tell Joe, I don't have it in front of me here, but
you suck.
There is a cost. I forgot the dollar amount to the recycling program.
All right.
Because I said the recycling program makes money for the city.
I think that was Paul Hamman eggs.
No, it wasn't Paul, but was it?
I
forwarded it to me. I don't know.
Paul Hamman eggs wanted to say he passed South Park and nobody was using the 2 baseball fields. If nobody's is using them, then why are we spending $16 million for more baseball fields? Because it's a very compressed time that we're using the fields. That's what I got out of it, Paul. I would love for you to come on and debate something new. Our good friend Alice said, please tell Joe, after listening to today's podcast, that recycling costs Lake Forest taxpayers $250,000 per year. Last she knew. She briefly tried to check that number online and couldn't find it. P.S. The major objection to condo number 3 on Westminster Road was its incompatibility with other structures in the East Side Historic District. Hence, block the box. Condos 1 and 2 on McKinley Road were not in the ES Historic District. Got it, Alice. Duly noted. Joe, your response.
No, I won't get into the second part because I don't know that well enough. But
yeah.
Other than I thought it was kind of disingenuous of a certain mayoral candidate to try and latch onto that issue during the campaign. But back to the garbage, the recycling cost. So that may I can't speak to what's on the Lake Forest City website and the cost, but taking your number at face value. So my understanding is the state of Illinois requires every municipality to have a recycling program. That's a law that was passed many years ago. But Lake Forest, I think, has tried to minimize that cost and by recycling the right way of educating people of, there's this whole thing that people do called wish cycling, where they think something should be recycled, so they throw it in the recycling bin. Well, what ends up happening is a worker
that pisses our sanitation guys off.
Yeah, because that takes time. If you've ever had a job where you have customers that do stuff that makes you do extra work, you get a little ticked off, right? But more importantly, as a taxpayer, those are hours that it takes hours because people like the shopping bags. People take those plastic shopping bags, and because they're recyclable, they put them in the recycling bin. But the city doesn't recycle those directly. So when those things get caught in the recycling machines, it jams up the machines. The way you should recycle those, the plastic shopping bags, is to either take them. The dump has a place that you can put those in if you go there on the weekends. Jewel has the soon to have a Cart Corral. Jewel has a couple of those plastic recycling bins outside the door. Target has it. Walmart has it. A lot of grocery stores has it. Even I think Home Depot has it. So you put those in there because that takes care of that because those get handled differently. But people will throw in like a piece of metal into the recycling bin. Well, they take aluminum cans, so they should take this piece of metal. No, they don't. And a worker has to take that and sort that and throw it in the trash. And not only does that tick off the worker, but it takes labor time and trash management time and stuff. So it adds costs to taxpayers. So I think what Lake Forest has tried to do is try to educate people of what the right recycling is. And again, it does still cost the city money, as you pointed out in that email, but the cost would be a lot higher if you didn't manage that and just told people put anything and everything in your recycling. So I'd love to get somebody from the city on to talk more about it. My experience with the whole recycling thing is over 20 years old. When I was a trustee for the Village of Morton Grove, and I was on the on SWANK, the solid waste agency in Northern Cook County. But, the state has put this mandate in about recycling. And if you do recycling the right way, especially the aluminum cans, always recycle those. That helps. That's money for the city, and the less cost it is for the city, the less cost it is for us, the taxpayers.
I never get it right. I just throw everything out.
So you're a wish cycler. You wish it would be recycled.
I don't wish anything. I know cardboard.
They have a little sticker inside the cart. If you open up the recycling cart,
my sticker looks like
maybe you need a new sticker. Maybe you should, one of the public works guys who can't come on the podcast.
I think they ran out of stickers
and give you one of those stickers, a new sticker. It's also on the city website too.
I have so many stickers. It's like NASCAR in my trash cans. So I just throw everything out. So I need one of those guys to come on.
You're costing the city money, my friend.
I know, but it
means you're costing the taxpayers money.
But the old days where you just, if it's a can or cardboard paper, throw it into one thing and garbage in the other. Now it's like the rules are so long what you can recycle. I'm like,
well, give me an example, and I'll tell you if it's recyclable or not, because I think I know all the rules.
Used pizza box.
Not recyclable.
Used to be.
Never was. Because
they took it.
Once the cardboard gets all that oil and grease from the pizza, no, you can't recycle that.
You can't.
And the cardboard's biodegradable.
Yeah.
So it should just go in the trash and it'll biodegrade. Now, if it's a cardboard box that's clean and not wet, so if you got a pizza box that you didn't use, or any other cardboard box, that is recyclable. But once it gets food and stuff contaminated on it, not recyclable. Next.
See, Jason, this is why we need some of the city guys to come on. What could a trash guy get in trouble saying on the show?
Father, I'm one of the city workers in Lake Forest, and I love Pete, Joe, and Rick. I'd love to come on the show, but I can't because Jason Weiss says I can't come on the show.
Wah with his shovel like he did.
That was a weak first attempt at a cartoon, but
man, you're going to be. I think you missed your calling in life, Pete.
Hey, life's not over, my friend.
And what's that network that has all the animation stuff?
Every network has it now.
Yeah, they do. That's right.
Cartoon Network. And then at the last thing I'll talk about, the city council meeting. It was a short meeting because they had a book to talk about pay rates. I think that's what it was, an executive session. But the Lake Forest Preservation Foundation Awards, and Jason Smith went up there and went over the list of the pretty houses. I think that's what it was. I don't know how you get. Nobody ever put the only lawn sign I've ever had in my yard is for Randy Tack. So I haven't seen any preservation lawn signs.
Oh, I've seen them around town.
I've seen it, but not in front of my house.
I don't think your house is gonna. When was your house built? Like 2000 something?
80.
80?
Yeah, 80. I got one that's 1966. I don't see nice mansard roof. I don't see anybody putting any.
Well, maybe you need to submit it for next year. I don't know how that all works.
Well, that leads me to I think we need to have the Lake Forest podcast lawn sign that says this is a mediocre house.
Don't Dude, you passed out at my party. I wish I had one for the camera. What do you call those things? The cup for the
koozie.
The koozies. You got koozies, man. You don't need yard signs. You got koozies. That's way more effective advertising. You got koozies. You got beer glasses. What else? You got somebody had a hat. I want one of those hats.
I want to have my own way of like signaling.
You still have a hat?
Signal that my
I
house
think I'm entitled to a hat if I contribute to this podcast as much as I have. I deserve a hat, Pete.
I gave you a koozie.
When I gave you a whole sleeve of koozies. I got more. If somebody wants a koozie, email me, and I'll get you one of Pete's koozies.
Lake Forest Podcast Social Club. Well, that's where all the money goes that we get each month from this podcast goes into that sleeve of koozies that you have. But I do think that, for our loyal listeners, I'd be curious to see what the design would look like. Like, this is an average house that probably needs the kitchen to be redone. But we listen to the Lake Forest podcast. That's all I'm saying. Would that be allowed?
And then if you get an animated sign with the cartoon of the city guy.
I'm proud of this mediocre house, and I listen to the Forest podcast.
And then the other side, the people that don't like you put up signs saying, "We will never appear on the Lake Forest podcast."
That's why you do a two-sided sign.
Yeah, and you give one to Susan.
Which side do you put up?
Give one to Matt Montgomery. Who else will come on? Well, he did come on, but that's another story.
Yeah. All right, slow week. I thought we'd get more out of city council meeting.
Meeting is short. When I was a trustee in Morton Grove, we had a rule.
Yeah.
Trustees would. I hope I'm not violating any confidentiality from 20 years ago, but the trustees in Morton Grove afterwards would go get together at a local establishment.
Yeah.
I won't say which one because in case they still go there.
Yeah.
Aaron, the trustees. And the rule was, we had an unwritten rule that the trustee who spoke the longest at the board meeting would have to buy the beer.
Interesting.
So, and the village clerk at the time kept kept the running total of how long each trustee spoke at the meeting. And so we had pretty fast meetings. Now, again, I get it. I don't mean to thwart democracy. There are times you need to have discussions, but we would get into situations, and Lord knows I saw that on the school board, where people would pontificate for hours and hours and hours. It's like, what's your point? It's just like, please.
Well, Randy came through on his campaign promise that, the first couple of meetings.
Boring. I like that.
Good. I got nothing. I got no content. Come on, Melanie Rummel.
You want a crew to win so you'd have more content?
Oh my God.
Can you imagine?
be like watching Biden on steps.
Oh.
We'll edit that out.
I just pray for his health every time I see Vice President Harris speak. So that's all.
Right. What are you gonna do? Joe Weiss, very riveting show.
As always. There's lesser. I think he's on a highway in Arizona somewhere.
I think he's in Winslow, in Arizona.
Standing on a corner. I hope he doesn't start talking to a girl on the corner like in the Eagles song, because this is also might not approve of that.
And then he gave us a nice shot of Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you know this, the Cracker Barrel in Gurnee was the site of my first date with my wife.
Outstanding. That
probably going to kill me for saying that on this show, but
no, that's okay. Nobody's listening to this show. Nothing happened.
We grew up in Lindenhurst, and she's listing all the restaurants we could go to, and I'd never been to Cracker Barrel in my life, living in Morton Grove and Skokie area. So let's go there.
Okay, you got to do a jump ball. You got Cracker Barrel on one side, and you got Waffle House on the other. Who wins?
Ooh, now that's tough. I love Waffle House whenever I go down to the South. There are two Waffle Houses in Illinois. I want you to know that.
Yeah.
Collinsville and, oh my goodness, I can't remember the other city now. It's the city where that plant was that Trump visited when he was one of his few.
Southern Illinois?
Southern Illinois. It's St. Louis metro area, basically.
Yeah.
There's that part of Illinois, they call it Metro East. So Collinsville is like, you can see the St. Louis Arch from Collinsville. And I've been to that Waffle House when I've been there for meetings for my job.
Well, here's the thing.
Anytime I'm in the South, man, I try to hit a Waffle House. I've got the belly to show it. But that is that's some good eats at Waffle House, let me tell you.
Well, I would choose Waffle House because they never close.
It's true, even at a hurricane.
I mean, that's, you got a hurricane in your area, just see if the Waffle House is open. I believe that.
I highly recommend the video of the late Anthony Bourdain visiting a Waffle House with a chef, a world-renowned chef who was inspired to become a chef because his parents used to take him to Waffle House and he watched the guy cooking. It is an amazing video. So sad of what happened to Anthony Bourdain, but
no idea who that is.
You don't know who Anthony Bourdain is?
No.
Dude, no. He had that show. He was like a big restaurant cuisine reviewer. I can't remember what network the show was on, and then he was on CNN and stuff. And he got a little political, unfortunately, at the end. But
he got canceled.
Well, then unfortunately he committed suicide. Unfortunately, but his stuff was when he talked cuisine and restaurants, he really was good. And that I'll send you the link, that Waffle House view where he goes on with I can't remember the name. There's a guy who became a chef, a world-renowned chef, because his parents would take him to a Waffle House in the South where he grew up, and he'd watch because you can watch them cook your food, and he was just fascinated of watching these people cook other people's food. That inspired him to go there. But the whole thing about the Waffle House was, bring us, you're tired, you're inebriated, you're We'll feed them.
And they're privately held, and they were able to they scale at the right pace, and they keep the quality. So
I don't know if the business model works in places like this, but
that's
local journalism, man. It's dying because if it ain't national,
I
talk
think
about Donald Trump, pro or con, then it ain't happening. I mean, that's all. It's all anything is becoming is national stuff. Like I said, you walk down the street today, and pull 5 people and ask them a question about national issues and ask them a question about local issues and see which one they know more about.
Yeah, but we're all journalists now. We just have very, our 30 people that we talk to regularly. You got all these silos, and that's why we run into all these problems. Like, it's hard for people to think for themselves. All right, Joe, I refuse to burn the internet any more than we already have on this show. We're looking
clogging the internet with this show.
we need the internet plunger. Have you before I go again, have you played with ChatGPT yet?
Yeah, I still prefer my own writing.
Okay. All right.
I can see where it can really do some good for some people. Kind of, I wonder, but I can see where it can be a really bad thing. It's like anything else. Hey, Cliff Notes. Remember Cliff Notes back when we were in college? Right. That helped people learn stuff, but then it also enabled kids to not read the actual book, right? So I think it's kind of the same way that it can, it depends on how you use it.
So what if you watch a video and you get the same information? Is watching a video over reading a book bad?
Depends on which teacher you're talking to. If you're talking to your composition,
that's kind of my point. Is, and we're just regurgitating.
I mean, people should still read books. I think there's something about reading a book because it takes you off of a screen and gives you a peaceful place. Hopefully you're reading it in a peaceful place to sit and just read the book and do nothing else. I think that's a good mental thing for people to get away from screens for a while.
Well, meditation, I understand that. Meditate, right? Think of nothing. Seriously. But that gets to the question is, who cares how you got the information? The end of the day is that you have it and prove that you have it. The proof.
The key is the last part of that statement. Prove that you have it. Because whether it was Cliff Notes back in the day or some of this other stuff today, I think kids are just using that, and it's not just kids now, but people are just using it.
Yeah, there's a two-year window here where everybody's, the early adopters are going to get this knowledge, and everybody's going to figure it out, and then you're going to have some type of proctor that says whether you went to Southern Illinois, Northwestern, Liberty, whatever it is that. Okay, great. You got this degree. Well, you got to pass this test to prove that you have this knowledge. Because if you want to be a lawyer, what do you got to do? You got to pass a test, right?
But is ChatGPT going to eliminate the need for lawyers? I mean, is Rick Lesser going to be out of a job one day?
Paralegals, yeah.
But I mean, technology has always replaced positions before. Right. Yeah. I mean, we used to have stagecoach drivers. We used to have elevator operators.
Yeah.
Those jobs are gone because of technology. But then other jobs were created. Will there be new jobs created because of Chat GPT that don't exist?
You're going to have to.
We'll be okay. We're not going to be all unemployed.
No. Well, the early adopters will always be okay because they're following the trends. But if you're like the last to work at a manufacturing company, don't be crying because the job is gone. You got to find something new. It sucks that jobs go away, but you have to be paying attention to things because a lot of people don't like change. I understand that. Joe, I think I pissed off enough people on this podcast. So
just on this podcast, I think
just on this one, yeah. So for all the people working out, doing their laundry, or whoever they included us in their lives, we thank you for listening. And for those of you that can watch us for 5 minutes at a time, you're doing a lot better than some other people who can't stand us that long. Look at these faces. Have a great Saturday, all.
See y'all.
The Lake Forest Podcast is supported by viewers, listeners, and businesses just like you. Looking for the best pool supplies? Look no further than Dohany's Pool Supplies. With a history dating back to 1967, this family-owned business offers everything families need to keep their pools clean and sparkling, from chemicals to equipment. Plus, customers enjoy free shipping on all orders. Visit Dohany's Pool Supplies today at doheny.com, DOHENY.com, to learn more. Forest Bluff Real Estate Team serves Illinois, Wisconsin, Lake Forest, and Lake Bluff. John Josephitis, Laura Lee Van Fleet, and of course Michelle Parnell. Get a free market analysis now at forestbluffrealestate.com. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Havey Communications has been helping first responders arrive safely since 1983. It's owned by Lake Forest's own Mike Havey. Check them out at haveycommunications.com. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters: Matt A., Elizabeth C., Costa, Lance, Otto, RDM, John C., and Helen. Shout out to the Lake Forest Breakfast Group, Broad Stop and Captain Mike's in Kenosha, the Greentown Tavern, and the Frolic Lounge in Waukegan.